Moving back to the story of melioidosis in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka lies in the tropics within the melioidosis belt. Rice and rice flour are part of the staple diet, with B. pseudomallei thriving in the paddy fields scattered throughout the island, where the predominant form of agriculture is still rice farming in small holdings using traditional farming methods. However, after that first early report in 1927, only 2 other cases were reported in Sri Lanka. One in a Belgian traveller to the island, and the first indigenous case reported in the Ceylon Medical Journal in 2003. The tsunami of 2004 did not throw up any evidence of melioidosis, and with only 2 cases in 75 years, melioidosis in Sri Lanka was considered a disease with sporadic occurrence. In 2006, Professor Vasanthi Thevanesam of the Peradeniya University came across an unusual blood culture isolate in the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital. Although she had never seen one previously, she immediately identified the culture as B. pseudomallei and contacted experts using the internet to get advice on management of this patient who survived. Shortly afterwards, another blood culture from a fatal case of septicemia also became positive for the same bacterium. Professor Tim Ingles of Pathways, Western Australia, visited the country, confirmed the identification of these isolates, and a collaboration was set up with his laboratory in Perth, and I commenced the prospective case-finding activities reported in this oration. We set up a national clinical microbiology network comprising consultant microbiologists serving in many state and private hospitals across the island, developed a working case definition for active case surveillance. My laboratory at the Faculty of Medicine was designated the reference center, and we established laboratory work-up procedure for culture and identification of the bacterium based on its typical colony morphology, microscopic appearance, antibiotic sensitivity pattern, and designed a standard questionnaire for data collection. The indirect hemagglutination assay for antibody testing, where an in-house preparation of bacterial antigen is used to sensitize sheep erythrocytes, which are then reacted with serial dilutions of patient sera in a microtiter plate, was established. If the serum is positive for antibodies, agglutination of the red cells takes place, which manifests as an agglutinated mat on the bottom of the well, while negative wells show a neat pattern of red cells, as shown in this photograph. Primary isolation relies on conventional culture techniques of blood, sterile fluids, pus, and soft tissue specimens on routine culture media such as blood and MacConkey agar. Suspected B. pseudomallei isolates are then referred to our laboratory for preliminary bacteriological identification. Culture of this bacterium from patient samples is not difficult, but definitive identification is. Routine biochemical tests and commercial identification kits are not suitable, as they do not have this bacterium in their databases. Therefore, PCR, a polymerase chain reaction, to amplify and identify a specific genetic region in the bacterium is used. In this PCR, a gene specific to the bacterium is amplified 1 million times and then detected. This work was first done by me in Perth, Western Australia, but subsequently this PCR technique, the real-time PCR technique, has been set up in Sri Lanka at the Gene Tech Research Institute. The first imperative after this was to educate the medical community about the presence of this infection. Awareness was raised chiefly among the microbiologists, but also among the clinicians through lectures, presentations and publications, emails and personal communication. I have to state that initially these communications were greeted with skepticism and disbelief, And there were many clinicians who did not believe that milioidosis was present in this country. This slide shows the culmination of a decade, 2006 to 2016, of advocacy, traveling across the country, speaking at conferences and meetings, and training laboratory staff to recognize this bacterium. Initially, case detection was very slow and confined to Professor Thurman-Eamson's laboratory in Peradeniya. However, slowly, over the years, the number of hospitals sending suspected cultures to our laboratory for screening and PCR confirmation increased. As microbiologists were assigned to the eastern and then the northern provinces, we started receiving samples from these provinces as well. During the course of this study, we have detected 167 culture positive cases of milioidosis, with another 60 plus additional cases diagnosed as milioidosis by high antibody titers. However, I have restricted my analysis to only the culture positive confirmed cases. The number of culture positive cases has risen dramatically every year, with 83% of cases detected only since 2014. This year, we have reached 50 cases, and in the first half of this year, we hope to reach 100 by the end of this year. Milioidosis is prevalent throughout the country, with all 9 provinces affected. The highest provinces being affected being the western and northwestern provinces. However, all provinces have reported cases. There were no cases at the higher elevations we noted, and of course only a few in the northern province where microbiology services have only been available recently. The age range of patients was wide, ranging from 2 to 92 years, reflecting the ubiquity of exposure to soil in the Sri Lankan population. The majority of patients were middle-aged and men, corresponding to likelihood of soil exposure and age of onset of diabetes. While men, farmers, and rural populations dominated, there was representation of every population group, from housewives, school children, to professionals including a physician and school principals, businessmen and women, white-collar workers including irrigation officers, technicians and clerks, blue-collar workers including laborers and construction workers. Notably, 10 patients belong to the defense forces, army, police or civil defense, and 20 were drivers, which has not been reported in other series. Although only 30 gave their primary occupation as being farmers, a further 47 persons admitted to cultivating or gardening frequently or occasionally. Therefore, the total number who could identify soil exposure by cultivation was 73 or 45%. Milioidosis in Sri Lanka seems not to be a disease limited to rice farmers, but an infection related to the outdoor, agricultural, barefoot lifestyle, still practiced by the majority of the population, as shown in these photographs of home gardens.